was no interruption between pre-LinkedIn Live and now LinkedIn Live. We actually find it very interesting. I'm with Gretchen Skelka again, and seems to be just a wealth of information and inspiration for those she works with and people who get to know her. So check out her profile, and maybe there's a lot of alignment. By the way, chat is open. Love to have interaction and questions if you so choose. And with that, I'll introduce Gretchen to you, and Gretchen could say a few words.
Hi, it's nice to be back here with you again, Don. Thanks for inviting me again. Yeah, my name is Gretchen Skelka. I am a career strategist and leadership development coach. And what I do is I work with people to design customized systems for them based on their own personal systems and their own thinking design. So it's a little bit specific, but it gets really good results. And the areas that I really focus on are confidence and mindset, and the practical and direct application they have on career and professional development.
Yeah, and that just, segues right into our topic, which is optimizing your mindset to win the game between you and yourself. And that typically is the case on almost every person that I've talked to who comes into LinkedIn, because LinkedIn doesn't give you a rule book, doesn't give you a roadmap, doesn't tell you what to do or how to do it. And with 830 million people on LinkedIn, there is going to be diversity and things that just a big number, and you'll find everything within that number that you'll find within 830 million people anywhere.
Right.
So, with that said, most people, and you can only qualify or generalize so much, tend to believe that they need to be smarter, better than they are to be successful on LinkedIn. And then they become inauthentic. And that demonstrates itself in how people hear you and see you.
Yep.
And ultimately, if you're lucky, they'll meet you. And then they'll know you for sure. And then what have you created? So I think everybody is best at who they are. And if you just want to share who you are, there's people out there who are just like you.
Yeah.
If not like you 100%, at least on the same wavelength. And what we were just talking about prior to going on, and here's Carrie. Hello, back to you. It's so nice to see you again. Thanks for joining, and looking forward to sharing some more great knowledge, but appreciate it, Carrie. And with that, Gretchen, I know you're a big believer in mindset and something that's essential for you to be as successful as you can with someone. So explain what your thoughts are towards that.
I mean, mindset is such a big topic, but I think, going back to what you had mentioned about authenticity, it's interesting. We had a conversation this weekend. Melissa Houston did her coffee chat on Saturday, and authenticity came up. And it comes up repeatedly because it's such an important topic. Because at the end of the day, being authentic is being yourself. Now, I will say it, if you are challenged with being yourself, then you cannot fundamentally be authentic, because that's where it has to start from. That's the wellspring of authenticity, is your true self. So getting to know that means having the mindset to be comfortable enough in your own values, your opinions and beliefs, to know that what you have to say is important. There are ears out there that are meant to hear it, but that mindset can also prevent us from doing that. So it can prevent us from getting involved, creating just a simple post, whatever it is, having our say, giving a thought or opinion about something, because we will tell ourselves all kinds of stories, basically. We'll create the narrative of our lives. And that starts with our mindset. So going back to what we were talking about last week, your mindset comes from your values, opinions, and beliefs, and your beliefs are just repeated thoughts. The thoughts that you continually have over and over and over again become your beliefs. Habitual thoughts, habituated thought patterns become your beliefs, and your beliefs determine the quality of your mindset. if it's a limiting mindset, if it's a growth mindset, whatever it is, but it is so fundamentally important because it lays the foundation for the life that you ultimately live. So I just don't think that the importance of mindset can be understated ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, mindset can cover so much ground. There's a whole psychology just to psychology and people, let alone how it's applied to LinkedIn. We've got a question here from Amir. Thank you very much. Can you all discuss emotional intelligence and the pros and cons of being a people pleaser in the workplace? Great question, Amir. Thank you very much. To Gretchen's point, it's again, when you're a people pleaser, you're most likely not very authentic. You're typically compromising your integrity at times, and you're also making yourself feel worse by trying to make someone feel better, right? So you're pleasing somebody at your own expense. And to Gretchen's point again, that's a habit that can continue. And pretty much no one believes anything you say anymore because you're always agreeable. You're always kind of an apple polisher, and emotional intelligence, I think, is formed by taking initiative, right? Not just by thinking things, by doing what you're thinking and just doing more of what you're doing and think less of it. Because here's one thing, and I think this brings up a great point. A big thought I had last week, maybe a revelation, was that LinkedIn success is all based on balance. If you focus only on LinkedIn, you'll get no benefit. If you focus only on yourself, LinkedIn will give you no benefit, right? So you have to find a middle ground, not to just put all your URLs in your posts and talk about your website and everything else, because LinkedIn will give you no reach.
Right.
They see, they hear, there's no sneaking around here, so getting back to mindset, having balance, being fair, and you say, okay, well, one good strategy is be authentic. The other great strategy is bring value, and to your question, Amir, you wouldn't have to be a people pleaser if you were bringing tremendous value that everybody could see, right? Because then you'd earn people's respect. Yes, Gretchen?
And I think too, being a pleaser, it's one of those classic saboteurs that we all deal with, and everybody deals with a different combination of them. But the pleaser is a really difficult one because it's also very, very prevalent. And the challenge for people who have that people pleasing mentality, and again, it is my number one saboteur. I know I did my assessment, and I wasn't surprised by that. But the downside at work is it can jeopardize you taking care of your needs. So you might subordinate what you feel. Let's say you're on a big project. You might subordinate what you're feeling or what you're doing so that you are basically pleasing, flattering, helping someone else. And a lot of times what happens is we will subjugate our own needs so that we are basically doing that in favor of someone with perceived authority, right? Influence, experience, all the things that make up what we perceive as authority. And so it can be very, very dangerous in the world of work to have that pleaser mentality go, in front of and to the expense of you, basically. And so I think to Don's point, when we're being authentic, it sounds weird to say, well, if that's who I am, if I'm a pleaser, isn't that authentically me? But the thing with these kind of saboteurs, I call them, well, it's not me, it's a legit scientific thing. But the thing with saboteurs is that they were important when we were little, right? When we were little kids and we were learning how to be in this world. But as we grow up, we don't need them anymore. And so it's a challenge to get rid of those, especially the pleaser, because that pleasing mentality can lead to burnout because we are doing, saying, wanting to acquiesce for the benefit of other people. We're not always that able to express our own needs very well, or we feel guilty when we do. And so those can be very challenging to do. On some level, it kind of feeds our own need for acceptance and attention, all those kind of things. But on the other end, it's not doing us any favors, right? To
Mhm.
exhibit that pleaser mentality at work. So we have to be really careful with it. And the first thing that I will say, the very first way to know how to deal with it is to recognize it in ourselves. And so a trick that someone taught me was, if you, Amir, if you have a pleaser mentality, give it a name, right? Separate it from you, from what you consider as you, because that's not you. So me, I call her Little Yessie, right? Little Yessie in Gretchen. She's the one who's like, oh, me, I'll help, I'll do. Little Yessie gets me in a lot of trouble. Little Yessie compromise and closes the window on my time, the time that I have for things that I really need to get done. Little Yessie takes time away from my family and my friends and my hobbies and things like that. So she's not me, and I have to keep her in check, because if I let her go, she's like a little spoiled kid and she'll run all over everything that I do. So try that one, Amir, if you can, and give your pleaser a name. Separate it from yourself, and know when those behaviors are starting to happen, because when you can recognize that they're happening, you can then do something about them. Like maybe what'll trigger it happening, who the people are that you're most likely to want to engage in pleasing behavior with, and how you can then claw back your own time from that. Yeah.
Oh, great point. And here we have a Victory Circle podcast. Hi, Don and Gretchen. It's Jason. Yes, I agree with that. To only concentrate on LinkedIn is a big mistake. You should have balance. So Jason, that's so right on. And what I find is balance applies to everything, to who you work with, how you work with them, why you work with them, what your content is, every area. And that's why I think, to what me and Gretchen are saying, it's very easy to say if you've transitioned through it, if you're used to change, and if you're used to wanting change and looking forward to it. And what happens with that is you get knowledge share. We were just talking earlier about something I heard on a podcast,
Yeah.
and it was about converting like LinkedIn Lives or YouTube videos to YouTube Shorts,
Yeah.
which are getting very exciting. So there's so much to reaching out, but the key is relevancy, alignment with the person. It's easier to give birth than raise the dead, right? And if someone isn't where they need to be from the start, don't try to fix them. Don't hope that things will change. Start with a fresh, quality individual who you align with, and build from there. And less is more if you do more with the less you have, right? Versus then spreading yourself too thin. So we've got, there's a myth, okay, you post more often, only it will capture the audience. Can you speak to that? Yeah, Mayor, that's a great point. I have posted every day for 3 years. It's just part of my everyday routine, like brushing my teeth, and I've done a LinkedIn Live now every day for 7 months. And you get better at it. Too many people are thinking, how little can I put out for how much can I get back? And they don't understand they're not at the point of even exchange yet. What you have to do is prove you're worth anybody's time and attention, because what people, and to Gretchen's point about being a little bit detached from yourself, whatever turns you on turns people like you on.
Yep.
So when someone sends you a great comment that you're just thrilled by, or does something for you, people like you would feel the same way if you did it for them.
Yeah.
And the idea is not to invent new things. It's to circulate quality things that you're learning, because now you become a resource for people. You got to ask yourself, it's a marketplace. Luckily, there's 800 million people out there in it. And more fortunate, there's hardly anybody doing anything about the 800 million. So if you're just active, and I think that's where post more often, if my audience would receive it, I would post 10 times a day. But what happens is if you post too quickly after an earlier post, it kind of takes the place of the first one. So you're really just splitting audience instead of increasing it. But yeah, that's a great point. Getting back to mindset, I think you'll always have to bring in the element of happiness. Are you excited when you get on LinkedIn? Are you happy when you get off? Go ahead.
And are you excited to share what you know? I mean, because at the end of the day, it's a connection-based marketplace, right? Like you said, it's a marketplace. We can be honest about that. And so, but it's a connection-based environment. That's what the platform is really built on. And knowledge share is huge. Knowledge share is sort of like the fluid that greases the wheels that gets you through life. Nobody is born knowing anything really. We're not really born knowing everything, and we certainly aren't born knowing much. So we have to learn how to walk and talk and feed ourselves and, all those lovely things. And we never really stop. And I think that we can stop ourselves. But, when you know something, even if it's something that you think is small, benign, whatever it is, nobody's going to care, post it out there anyway. I mean, you never know what you have, the importance of what you have to say, until you get that feedback from other people. And also remember, sometimes people, are dealing with the same things that stop you, those limiting beliefs, that sort of limited mindset. I can't, I shouldn't, I won't, they won't, all those things that we tell ourselves that aren't true. And so go ahead and do it. Put your thought out there. There are so many people that I've met through this platform that have taught me so many things. Donna, you and I were just talking before we went live about he taught me last week that you can take a long form video on YouTube, and on the platform, you can create a short from it. I did not know that. I'm still learning a lot. So, but that was really fun to sort of figure that out. And so as I've gone, forward and tried to learn, to do video better and those kind of things and all the techniques, these are great tips to learn there. And there are so many people on this platform that can teach you so much. And so when I, look through and it's like part of my morning reading is to go out and see what I can learn. Obviously, my feed is going to have people that I'm very familiar with, and I know that that's content I really want to see. But I also will look for things that I'm interested. The same way that I might search on YouTube or Google for hashtag or a topic, I'll do the same thing on LinkedIn. What are people talking about that's not in my feed that I don't see? Because I want to see that stuff. And so that's how I'll introduce myself to new people and new ideas. And that keeps me moving. And yes, it makes me incredibly happy to do that. And I hope that what I share, helps and makes other people happy too. If it does, great. If not, I'm going to keep doing it because I do think that there's a need for that. And that's also why I so much value and appreciate the other people who are also doing that, because I'm a consumer of that information. I want it. I need to have it. And I'll call you out if I expect it and you don't give it to me. I will call you out.
Well,
there are people in this audience I have called out. Yes.
Those are great points. Jason agrees. He thinks you're doing an excellent job.
He's so great.
Thank you, Jason Wilson. So appreciated. And Gretchen, you hit it right on the nose, because what people have to understand is the reason they're where they are is because of where they've been and who they've been with. One of the secrets is detach from a group of dream stealers or people who have limiting belief systems and ostracize you if you differentiate too much, to people like me and Gretchen. Because here's the thing I just realized when Gretchen was talking, is there's a differentiation between connections and connections. And what I've learned and what I gravitate to is influencers and connectors and teachers. I'm not really interested in what industry, what experience, I'm interested in where you are right now with your thinking, where you're going tomorrow, and who is in your game.
Yep.
Right. I know Gretchen has some really, really high quality individuals, not just LinkedIn connectors. And so do I. So one thing that you have to appreciate, and that's another thing, most people are in the situation they're in because of either ignorance, they just don't know any better, haven't learned anything different and they're working with what they have, or they're lazy. And there's not much I can do with the lazy, right? Because they got to get up off the couch themselves. But the people who have a thirst for learning, people are willing to open up to change, and the people who trust other people to continue to be everything they show themselves to be. And the
Yeah.
other key thing is taking control. It's so important to feel like when you get into a car, you've got control over it. When you get into LinkedIn, you should feel the same way, that what gears do you want to shift today? What buttons do you want to push? And usually involving people and having fun with it. I mean, if you were going somewhere really cool, if Gretchen says, hey, I'm going to Paris tomorrow, got some extra seats, anybody would want to come, you have all kinds of people wanting to come.
Yeah,
And the same thing on LinkedIn. If you say, here's where I'm going next week, whether it's a topic, whether it's a podcast, whether it's an event, to Amir's earlier point, get active as much as you can, make as much quality noise when you get there. Make sure you're amplified, make sure everybody can see you. There are some big questions here. I'll try to get to them. Why do people pay for things that they can do for themselves if they wasn't or taking advantage? Example, I'm getting gems here for free. I'm so appreciative, but I see folks offering service. Well, there is something to sampling, and sampling can feed you every day of your life if you go to Costco at the right times. And but at a certain point, you just say, hey, they gave me like a little tidbit of a hot dog, and I'm in the mood for the whole thing. And the beauty of this is, you're right, Amir. This is a way of getting your toe in the water. I'm sure there's people listening who aren't even being recognized, and that's okay. But that gives everybody a chance to get to know everybody better before you have to get to know everybody. Too many people just say, hey, let's do something. They don't know you. They think they do. So that's one point. Jason has a long comment. Yes, that's a great point, Gretchen. Taking time out in the mornings for me to check out new ideas on how to do things on different platforms is key. I found out more this morning about the power of LinkedIn newsletters, for example. And, to that point, gravitate to YouTube, to Google. Any question that you have to ask yourself more than a few times, ask them. There's people out there who have addressed it. The other thing is, and here's a key thing, and you talk about newsletters, polling is so vital, right? Because if you say, I don't know what my audience is thinking, I don't know what my audience feels about this, share it and be authentic. Say, I'm confused. Can you help me out? Is this important to you? Would you like to see more of this? Why not? You want to involve the people. And in essence, you want to be responsive to them, not the other way around. You want them doing more talking, more sharing, get them into the mood. Gretchen, I could see that fired you up.
Well, I was just, to Amir's point, I think that also one of the reasons that, people will choose to make an investment in themselves for any kind of external help. It's the same way we do with everybody. I was thinking this weekend, I want to say two things. Carrie, it's just regular iced coffee. He asked what kind of iced coffee I was drinking. It's just regular. It's not anything special. And it is a little chilly here in Florida, so I have the sniffles. So I do apologize if that's off-putting for anybody. But back to Amir's point, which is that, this weekend I was thinking about something. I was unboxing some things, and I tweaked my shoulder. And I had there's a lady that I know who does that kind of deep tissue massage thing with the thumbs. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a miracle with her hands. And I thought, I really want to call her. And again, to your point, is a long way around it, but she does something. She knows how to do something that she could tell me, but I could never replicate that to somebody else. So, you have the people that who just, they know how to do something, or how to, more importantly, bring something out in you. And it's one of the things that I love about all of this and this kind of discussion, which goes back to consulting and coaching and everything else, is that we will get, you can Google and research and find things for free. Absolutely. And they can, help you become more of what you have it in you to become. But there's always value in getting that external perspective to come in and hold you accountable, right? To take that free information and put it into practice. I am notorious for the follow-up. I love to follow up with the people that I've worked with, even when it's been months and we've, we're not partnered anymore, but I'm still invested in their success, their overall reaching of their continued goals. And so I'll reach out, just how's it going? What are we doing? Do you need any help with this? Or, how did it work out when you started, meditating or things like that? And just to kind of see what's going on. So that accountability factor is also really important. I think one of the reasons that people will make that payment or that investment in themselves is so that they have that partnership with somebody else who has the knowledge and the experience, but also the investment back in them to be sure that we're all moving toward that shared goal that we have for each other. And so I think that's one of the reasons. So Amir, I don't know if that answered your total question, but I do think that's one of the reasons why people will decide to make that investment in themselves for things that they can Google information about it or get it for free on a LinkedIn Live or a Google or a YouTube video or Google form or any of those kind of things. But when you want to go deeper or have it be a continued sustainable kind of, impact and exercise and practice in your life, that's one of the reasons why, because it's a way to get habituated to doing or thinking in that way, and that accountability to stay in that healthy balance that's working for you and keep it going and keep it going and keep it going until it becomes your life.
Well, I think Amir got a lot of insights today and got a lot of personalized attention, and that's the benefit to commenting and participating. And, getting back to mindset, and the game is between you and yourself. You set the rules, you judge the results, you applaud or challenge yourself every day. And, what I find is if it's challenging and frustrating, that's a clue to maybe enhance your board of directors, right? Don't look at yourself as a client. Look at yourself as a strategic partner with someone who's available to you, is going to dedicate their time and thought to you and your success. And if you believe in you, if you believe in your journey, and you understand how you want to work with somebody, which helps that person you're working with even more once you can get more specific, all of a sudden you're building a company now and not just one individual standing alone against the world. It's a lonely place. It's a long journey, takes a lot of patience and perseverance. And, at any day, you can go back to yesterday on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Anything you've been doing, you can continue to do so. Take one day off and include somebody else in it. And here's a test for everybody, or a takeaway. Who do you respect and appreciate the most on LinkedIn? Maybe it's even 3 or 4 people. If it's authentic again, share that with the world and share that with the person, right?
Yeah.
Let your thoughts find life by saying, Gretchen's just the greatest person to work with, and make a post about him. I'll tell you one thing. When that happened to me, I did a Zoom with a lady who is pretty significant on LinkedIn. And we had a great conversation, and it led itself to, ongoing conversations. But right after, and I was kind of new in my first year on LinkedIn, full-time year, like 3 years ago. And I looked and she had tagged me in it, and she wrote a whole post just about our conversation. And I was so happy that I wrote something back. Then I did a post about her, but I saw, again, to my earlier point, what made me so excited and was so easy to do. I started doing, and I started getting the reaction. So all you need is to get really good. And we talked about that pre-show, take 3 areas you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Focus your content about it. Be an authority on something. Be a thought leader. Get top of mind awareness. And the way you do it is repetition, impact, keep drilling into the same mine, if you want to go deeper and get more gold.
Yeah.
And then bring yourself to the table where people say, why wouldn't I want to spend time? Because really people think about money, but they should be thinking about time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't like what you get, you can stop spending money. But you'll learn something even from something that wasn't obvious in the beginning. And the key is, when people used to come to work for me, I used to always say, it's not how much you make, it's who you become here, right? Because that's what you take with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you can learn, the smarter you can get, the better you can get. And to, Mira's point earlier about being a people pleaser, when you have a lot of confidence and when you're excited about you, when you really think you are special and you're not just, blabbing it all around, people feel that. People take advantage of people who show that they're able to be taken advantage of, right? And the same thing, people are strong and confident, laugh challenges off and make those challenges less likely. But more important, it's a leadership quality, and there's a saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, and everybody around you starts to know you for whatever you do or don't do.
Yeah.
And what I would say in closing, because we've got to make this a little bit quicker, is be yourself. And if you're not happy with yourself, do things to help improve yourself. Yeah. Little things over time make a difference. And, at least from an honesty standpoint, if you need help, express that, be authentic in a good way, right? Reach out to people saying, and there's so many, like Gretchen says, quality people, helpful people, thoughtful people here, yeah, who only require a level of respect and thoughtfulness in order to promote, your success, like Gretchen says. So Gretchen, we've got a few more minutes. So if anybody's got any comments that haven't expressed, I see Mohammed's here. Mohammed seems to really enjoy this because he happens to be on every one I do every day. Yeah. Well, thank you, Mohammed. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. And anybody who sees anybody, take an opportunity to check out their profile, maybe make a connection, anything you can get for your time today.
Absolutely. Make it worth something. Yeah. Make it worth something. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, because that was my whole deal yesterday. I had this huge post that went crazy with my LinkedIn Live video, which was maximizing your time and thought on LinkedIn. So if you invest, let's say 45 minutes into this podcast or LinkedIn Live, what did you get for it? Right? Did you have 1 or 2 insights? Did you get a takeaway, something you're going to do? Yeah. Are you going to make a connection? There's probably 8 people here that you'll get 8 connections with if you reach out. And those are the things that's your responsibility to say, okay, I put an hour in. I want to get a lot more out of it than an hour I could have put somewhere else. And if you can do that with every hour and not expect something to land in your lap, but reach for it.
I have to laugh, Carrie, with the jokes. Always.
Yeah. There's too many of them for me to even.
He's a joke meister, but you make a good.
Okay.
Yeah,
anyways,
I know. Yeah, Tara, she's great. Yeah. I was just gonna say, for going back to Mohammed's thing, because I think, that pleaser mentality and going back to mindset, that is something that it's surprising how many people struggle with that one. Again, there are 9 saboteurs that we all deal with, but that one is like a top one for a lot of people. But the key to any of those, it's twofold for me, is 1, separate that behavior from you. That's not you. That's a filter that you're acting through. And you needed it when you were kids and you don't need it as an adult. So you can get rid of it. Give it a name so that you can call it out. But call it out when you, number 2, recognize that behavior in yourself. Know when you're doing it, because when you know when you're doing it and you've identified that, that's the way you can stop it. You can put challenges to it. Do I really need to not do my, presentation because I need to prove his presentation? No, that's pleaser behavior probably. So, you can begin to put challenges there, put those guardrails in place, protect yourself, and then you can begin to chip away at that behavior that's not serving you. And to your point early on in the broadcast, Don, surround yourself with people who will help you do that, who will also support but challenge those limiting behaviors and thoughts that you're doing, that you're exhibiting. And that's really, really important, because they will make you better. Your circle will make you better or not. It's the way it is.
And your happiness quotient will tell you how successful you are, because that's an easy measurement to say, is this making me happier doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Or is it making me more frustrated? And once you arrive at that conclusion, they say, once you find yourself digging a hole and you don't know why you're digging it, stop digging, right?
Right.
LinkedIn has a reverse and a neutral gear too. You can move into and dislocate from something that isn't working. But I think the community, I think just knowing there's people with you, that by itself gives you confidence. And there are people who really care about people. I mean, sincerely are out there in the stands rooting people on, hoping the best things that happen to them. And I think that's what motivates me and Gretchen to do these. Is this is far too valuable of information to keep to oneself. Yeah. Because, and the other thing I always learned, anytime I had to pay a heavy price or learn a hard lesson, the only dividend I ever got from it was helping someone maybe learn about it without having to go through it, or go through it easier, knowing what my experience was. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really the key, is build yourself an organization that you can depend on, and in turn, be the giver, not the taker. See how long you can give without feeling pain, and the more you give, the more you'll distinguish and differentiate yourself from the takers, or from the people who aren't sharers. And here's ultimately the mindset one should have, is a we and not a me. Mm-hmm. A me is one by itself. A we can create all kinds of opportunities, because it's 1 + 1 = 3. So, this has been just fantastic. Really appreciate all the wonderful individuals and the great comments. And Gretchen's always a fireball of energy and knowledge. And I would suggest anybody who wants to get to know Gretchen and what she does on LinkedIn and what she can do for you, feel free. You can go to my website. I've got a couple programs that, really can get someone into LinkedIn Live, or just consulting. And I think to Amir's point, I used to have a gentleman who actually came to work for me, and he was from Pakistan, didn't know much about the culture or anything. And I took him under my wing and kept giving him like Jim Rohn tapes and Brian Tracy tapes and all these wonderful tapes, right? And slowly he started to get it. And he started to get real successful with me. And at a certain point, he says, I'm thinking about giving to charity at home. I know there's a lot of girls that need, and back there you got to pay for education. I was thinking about sponsoring, but, when I get really wealthy, I'm going to do a lot of it. So I said, the best thing to do is do a little while you have a little. And then as you get a lot, do a lot more, because unless you start, it doesn't work. And I'm saying the same lesson here is, whatever you're thinking about doing, don't wait for something to happen to allow you to do it. There's a saying, start where you are with what you have and build from there. Go ahead, Gretchen.
Absolutely. That is so true. Do not wait for the perfect circumstance, because that's not going to happen. You've created something. Usually it's a defense mechanism to mean that you never have to do it. But you start where you are with what you have and do what you can. That is, Don, yes, that is such a pearl of wisdom, because it's absolutely fundamental to everything. For your personal and your professional life, it doesn't matter. go ahead and do that. It's like, people who are like, well, I'll be happy when I get that job or I get that raise or I get that. You can be happy right now. Happiness is not a place, and you don't put conditions on that. So when you can stop doing that and arrive where you are, that's where you create from. It's all right there.
Well,
And you can start there. Yeah.
And people are doing it, and they're doing it and succeeding. We've got just a couple more people that showed up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Poonam, who seems to be here every day too. Thank you very much for appearing. Poonam's an attorney, so reach out to him too. Oh, we got Dennis. Okay, I haven't seen Dennis was on yesterday. Do more with less while you can.
Yep.
And that's key. There's pride in cobbling together things that you didn't know had value, and all of a sudden getting value. And here's one thing: it's all about, they say faith is the belief in the invisible. And if you were sure, if I gave you a check for $1 million post dated a year from now that you knew was good as gold, and all you had to do is what you had to do for that year to get it, you wouldn't miss a trick, right? You'd be on top of everything because the money's going to be in the bank. Well, write yourself a check for $1 million and put
Jim Carrey did it.
Yeah, and he did it.
He did it. Yep.
Yep. So do that for yourself. If I work for Jim, and Jim was living out of a car, his whole family.
He absolutely was. Yep. He wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered, and he dated it like 5 years or something in the future. And by the time, and he kept it in his wallet. And it's that mindset, it's that belief. I can do this. I can do this. I'm going to keep going at that dream, at that goal, a little bit every day, chip away at it. Like you said, start where you are with what you have and do what you can. And you will be amazed at what you can make from that. Like you can make everything from that, so don't wait, do it now. Just start.
Yeah. So surprise yourself. So anyways, want to thank everybody again. It's been a wonderful opportunity. I'll look forward to seeing everybody every day if you want. I'm here.
Right?
So with that said, thank you, Gretchen, and thank you everybody, and we'll talk again. Bye for